This is Matt Orozco.
And Lowell Greenblat.
Hey, this is the Macabre Monthly. Lowell, it's the first time we're not doing this side by side.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't like this,
No,
but we will get used to it.
I know. I am now no longer in the great state of New York, unfortunately, which means we have separated by distance but connected through technology.
How dare you seek out a better quality of life at a lower cost in the Midwest, you son of a bitch.
It's the modern day land prospecting, that's the way I see it, is just move to the places that are cheap, especially when somehow your significant other is made to go there. So you make it work, you know?
Yeah. So your wife is in jail and you're moving there to be closer to her is what you're saying, basically.
Because the prisons, I don't know if you've seen, but they cost a lot of money. You got to keep refilling the card. You know, got to make sure that all the collect calls get paid for. So just being closer can make us a stronger family.
Yeah, that's the spirit.
It's the way we're looking at glass half full of diarrhea water. So anyway, shout out to everyone who has significant others in the penitentiary. I hope you're keeping it alive.
Yeah, I didn't mean for that to go there, but it was a trip. Right. I took a shot.
Hey, listen, it's the thread. It's the thread. Sometimes you pull the thread. Sometimes you have the foresight to think I should get a scissors and cut that because I know what happens if I pull it. We still make the same mistakes, and something will cause us to learn. But that's not today, and that's okay.
No.
So we floated an idea that basically we went with, which is our top 5 summer horror movies for today's episode. Well, before we'll probably get into this more, obviously, but was this, on a scale of 1 to 10, how difficult was this?
10 being like the most difficult? I mean,
yes.
Probably like a 3. Because it's not something that I really think about that much. And I'm wondering what the criteria is, like in movies that are set during the summer or just movies that feel like summer. So I went with the latter and I wound up with the latter, but also the former. So it just kind of worked out like that. But movies where there are the trappings of what the summertime is and feels like to the average American schmuck. And, how it'll also kind of explain itself. But I will say with a caveat, I wasn't planning on having this either way, but there are no Friday the 13th films on my list just because, I don't know, they always rain. It's always the same torrential downpour in the little town of Camp Crystal Lake, and they just don't really feel like the season to me, but that's just me.
I mean, Jason obviously only comes out when the monsoon season is about to start. So clearly he is, bound by temperature more so than his affinity to killing counselors. He also can only come out when it rains, or at least that's when he's seems to be his most effective. But yeah, I actually don't have any of those on my list either. Probably because I like to make these more difficult on myself than they probably need to be. So I set odd boundaries. And to me, it just felt like Friday the 13th is not a movie that speaks summer to me. Not because it can't, it definitely does give off that vibe. It's just, I don't see it that way. I see it as Friday the 13th. Kind of like, even though I see Halloween as a Halloween movie, I only really see the first Halloween as being something that is very much about the actual holiday, whereas the rest are oh yeah, that could have taken place any day. It just happened to be Halloween because that's the day Michael Myers comes back. But it doesn't feel Halloweeny any more than they just put pumpkins out. Whereas Trick or Treat is just doused in the cum of Halloween. So it's just, it feels the same.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So, but yeah, this was I wouldn't say it was super difficult, but I probably made it harder than I needed to be. And I will get into what we said as our parameters, because we do keep it loose and fast here in Macabre Monthly.
Speaking of that, though, speaking of making it harder for yourself, maybe I should have mentioned this to you before, but I thought of an idea for a future episode, and that would be why do I hate us so much? Best horror prequels, which I don't even know if there are 5 good ones, let alone like our favorite 5. But
Yeah, I
like,
mean,
food
it's
for
kind of like
thought.
trying to pick like, the least smelly shoe off the street. It's like, okay, like these all aren't great,
Yeah,
but one of them
I
probably
could wear
smells
this one
nice.
to bowl. Why not?
Yeah,
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 that's
yeah.
fine.
This one's fine for maybe in a religious, uh, place of worship of some sort.
Yeah,
But
to
I
be
digress.
respectful. Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I That's actually a really good challenge. So we should. This is all happening live. This is the creative process. We're putting that into the creativity bank, and you'll see it next month. So, uh, what have you been watching? What's been on your docket?
Well, last night I went to see the 40th anniversary of The Thing with my wife in the theater. I guess they fixed the aspect ratio because I didn't notice any problems. It looked great. It sounded great. And I mean, I think everyone should see the movies that they truly love in the theater at some point in their lives because it was just a great experience. It was regal. It wasn't like Alamo Drafthouse or anything. Though I kind of feel like it should have been at AMC because if there was ever a time for Nicole Kidman's intro to play before a movie, it's this one. Because playing, by the way, when that played in front of Jackass 4, I just laughed my ass off.
I
But
love that it's
yeah,
key. It still plays because like I just saw it in Top Gun last weekend, and I'm like, I'm not sure if Nicole Kidman is the spokesperson for gratefulness across that's going to resonate with everybody. Like, and I'm not. That's not a dig on Nicole Kidman as much as it is like
no, yeah,
I don't think she carries the weight that she used to when she, in the heyday of her peak of her fame, even though she's still putting out great work. Um, we need to be more vapid with today's society. We need like a Kardashian or a Jenner, probably a Grande of some sort.
I thought you were gonna say because it's weird to watch her introduce her ex-husband's movie.
I mean
Like that's just
that's
inherently
weird,
strange.
but that's only weird to like the people that know that they were married. Like I was like,
Yeah,
I don't know if my wife knew that or not, but either way, there are definitely people who are like, yeah, no, but they
I
were.
envy
And
those people. I envy people who years from now will one day be like, Johnny Depp was married to Amber Heard. I envy that person because
yeah,
they know nothing.
yeah,
They know
they don't have
nothing
to.
of no, they don't. They just get to live their lives. Just look on the internet like normal people. So the thing was great. I'll write about it a little more for the website, but um, it's one of those things where like I just notice more things about it when I see it in a theater full of people on the big screen, like how the score, they're like some of the biggest moments don't have any music. And then at the end, the score just creeps up a little bit. And, I've seen it so many times that I was finally able to notice, it's only like diegetic sound,
Yeah,
like the sound of what's happening. And it was just really cool. It looked
and
great.
it's
Everyone
and it's
applauded when it was
Morricone. Like
over.
it's you wouldn't even
Yeah.
like it definitely.
Although Carpenter did replace a lot of Morricone with his own music, and now I think I finally figured out the pieces that are Carpenter and the pieces that are Morricone. Like
Yeah,
Morricone's more like the theme music, especially at the beginning and the end, and Carpenter's more a lot of stuff in the middle.
you can
I
hear
think.
Assault on Precinct 13 like pretty much copy pasted
Yeah,
in the thing, parts of the thing, just maybe taking down like an octave or something like that.
yeah. Like he used the temp music, and he used it for temp, and he's like, all right, we'll just keep on with this, and it works.
Yeah, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
There's not many people that have the chance to score. There's not many creators who score their own work, and do so quite well. Like it is very much what you're getting. Like I don't think he's making groundbreaking music, although he has legendary themes, so that's something to be said. But
Yeah,
I do have all his like the records of his
yeah.
lost themes. They're really
They're
good.
good. Yeah, yeah.
Like
I
I
think
can see
the
why they
second
didn't
one's
fit in
really good.
something, but they definitely can hear like, oh, that was definitely a Prince of Darkness cut or something, or like
Yeah,
you can see the inspiration. So for what it's worth, like keep doing your thing, John Carpenter. Don't
yeah.
die, please. Just stay alive.
But yeah, Firestarter was shit. I watched that. Sorry, I'm sure it looked great on paper. The idea of remaking it, and I kind of got where they were going with a few things, but no, it's a good cast.
I tried
Everyone
watching it.
tried. The score is great, but it's just
I tried getting,
Yeah.
I tried watching, and like I'm not a huge fan of the original Firestarter by any
Yeah,
means.
neither
So,
am I. Yeah.
I definitely remember seeing it a lot when I was younger because it like replayed a lot,
Yeah.
but I don't hold any special connection to it. So when the idea of remaking it was announced, it's like I could care less, and like that's kind of driven my lack of interest in like trying to watch it. You know, it's like I don't know if I need to see this movie. You know, like that's as I'm getting older and more appreciative of my time, I'm trying to make those judgment calls that younger Matt wouldn't make, which is like, should I watch? And I just said this after binging a bunch of money at the Vinegar Syndrome sale of movies that I'll probably watch once. But you know, I'm trying to correct those decisions. So I just don't know if I'll see it. I just don't know if it's on the radar at this point. But we'll see.
I mean, it's if you have Peacock and you want to give it a go, but it's not great. Like I said, the score is great, the cast is great. Nothing against Zac Efron. It's just, and I was wondering, maybe it's because of Stranger Things that we sort of look at Firestarter. Like, if you're in a remake Firestarter in the age of Stranger Things, you got to really bring something to it, and didn't quite happen. Though I did appreciate the restructuring of the story so they don't spend the whole time at the, well, that's a kind of a spoiler. Anyway, not great. Soundtrack's great. Also not a horror movie, but I showed my wife Idiocracy for the first time. She'd never seen
It's
it.
kind of a horror movie.
Yeah, and
dark comedy.
Well, a lot darker now in retrospect, but she was profoundly disturbed. She laughed, she was entertained, but she was like, I can't ever watch that again. I kind of want that out of my brain because it hurts. Like,
yeah. I love that movie so much that it is, I don't have the same desire to watch it as much, probably because of those subconscious elements of like, do I really need to be reminded that this is actually happening? And with far more accuracy than any movie has any right being predicting. President Camacho is
he's the hero we not the hero we need, but the hero we deserve. Yeah.
Understood. Love Idiocracy.
Yeah. I think that's about it for me since last time. Probably more, but yeah, I can't think of any. So what about you? What have you seen?
I was packing up a lot. So I did a lot of I binged a bunch of Joe Bob, like Last Driving episodes, because I try to watch them. I'm just pulling up my list here because I try and track what I'm watching.
You always try to watch them as they're airing, but
it's really hard.
Yeah, we watch them live, the first one, then we usually go to sleep, but we always catch up on Sunday when they come back.
It's I got up on a lot of those. I still love those. I think he's getting better, like as far as what use Letterboxd for some reason.
A lot of wild swings this season. I appreciate it. A lot of older stuff, you know.
Yeah, and I think that the thing I always liked about Joe Bob Briggs when he was doing Monster Vision, he was doing things on the Showtime channel or the movie channel, was
TNT,
was like that he he was funny. He was more funny then than he is kind of now, but he was also like still infusing a lot of horror history and factoids into the experience. So like you felt like you were learning something from this really cool substitute teacher that showed up every Saturday, you know, and like, and that's kind of the spirit of what I love about these is that he's more informational. He's kind of doing some of the hokey stuff, which, you know, that does not bother me at all because that's whatever. I'll watch anything. But watch a lot of those. I did take the time to watch something I talked to you about, you know, offline, which was The Sadness. I think I called it The Suffering by accident. And
yeah, that works too, honestly. Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of what it felt like going through that. And it's not a bad movie. I'm just not sure it's a movie that I really
ever want to experience
or just need to experience again. And I think the more I think about it, it's because it's the same issue I have with like a Serbian film. It's like, I don't know what your point is. like I know, like, at least for the Serbian film, I actually do know what the director was trying to do because you can read about his intention and whatnot. Whether you agree with it or not, there was some level he was trying to do something and he did it quite well. Whereas like this isn't trying to do anything. It's not a middle finger to censorship in the country it's from. It's just mean to be mean. And I think when you're going to make something mean, you know, for me, it's just hard to just accept um, the lack of rules around it. You know, who gets infected, to what extent, how do you know? Like, there's just, it just feels like total pandemonium for pandemonium's sake. That said, it was like some of the tensest I've ever been watching a movie. It was kind of like watching Climax, or, you know, any sort of similar, like, high intensity, totally jarring film.
You just picture Gaspar Noé sitting in the theater munching his popcorn like that Michael Jackson gif.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this is really good.
Probably eating like, you know, like eating like a popsicle, like a red popsicle. Like, oh, this is fucking great, you know, like eating jelly donuts, just like lathering up
back.
Yeah. Like, I mean, but to that, like, I just think that that's part, like, in this day and age, it's really hard for me to enjoy something just because of that. I need there to be a little bit more thought into like why is this the point you're trying to make? And there was like, so either way, technically it's really impressive. I, again, kudos to the director because of just how well paced it feels at a lot of times. But yeah, there's a lot of mean shit going down, and this was like, I don't really need to see more mean shit.
Yeah. But so, I liked it too, but I have to disagree with you a little bit, even though I don't have such a concrete answer for why, because I don't think it was just mean for mean's sake. A lot of movies are mean for mean's sake. You know, Rob Zombie is sort of, back to Rob Zombie again, is sort of inadvertently mean for mean's sake. Like, you just imagine him sitting on set like, it's the most fucked up thing we could think of. But like, I feel like with the sadness, that was all sort of thought out already. And he is sort of saying something, like, especially when you learn why it's called the sadness. But, you know, the most disturbing scene in that movie, without giving anything away, is when you don't even see something. You're seeing a character's reaction to it. And it's the guy hiding underneath the hospital gurney. You know the scene that I'm talking about? And it's like, and I said to you, like, the American remake of this is going to suck. Whoever makes it, it's going to be terrible, because they're going to show you what this movie didn't show you in that scene. And the whole point of it is the guy who's there listening to it happen and not doing anything. That like encapsulates the movie for me. So I feel like it's less about what's the most fucked up shit we can think of, and more about this, like, it is a statement on violence and what we do to each other and how we look away. At least that's how I read it. I was impressed, but, you know, I don't need to watch it again. It kind of felt like Martyrs, like watching Martyrs for the first time, and you realize that, like, you know, I don't know how many people saw it when torture porn was the thing, but it sort of came out and it was like, oh, this one's really messed up. Oh, let's see. But then you watch it and you realize you're in the hands of a fucking lunatic. Like someone like not just like someone who'll just throw stuff at the screen to see it stick, but like you're watching some really dark nihilistic shit that comes from a real place of belief, and that's what makes it terrifying. And I sort of got that with the sadness too. So not for the faint of heart, but I do think there was a lot of thought put into it beyond just the squishiness.
Yeah, and I do see like that message comes across, but I think I get hung up on the idea that it's just, it doesn't take the time to help us understand what drives these impulses. Like the only exposition, the exposition scene feels very like at best, like pseudoscience. And I guess the varied reactions and how it affected people didn't make any sense. Why some people were violent, why some people were sexual. The whole explanation didn't really, like, that's not, to me, that's like, okay, but that's not really how that would work. It'd be like, I would want a cookie, you just take a cookie, right? Like there wouldn't be this like, so to me, it's like that point is, but at the same time, if the point is to show us the capability of violence, it's also indulging in the same thing by putting up the most vile, like these are things that I don't think any people would actually think to do. So it's already an exaggerated sentiment about what's going to happen in the situation. And it's done so again to make you be like, wow, this is awful. Now, I do see the point about people being like standbyers and like not getting involved. And like, that is something that is,
That's one of the worst.
I mean, that's consistent. Like that's been a consistent theme across so much of horror. There's the archetype of, there's always that person. Like in Demon Knight, there's the guy who sells out everyone to Billy Zane. There's always the charlatan who's like, willing to turncoat on everybody. But anyway, it was still like, I still gave it 3.5 stars. I still bought it because I still feel like it's a movie that like, it's something that it's very interesting. And it's something like, I take pride in the fact that it was made so well. And whether I agree with what it was doing or not, I still gotta admire its tenacity. Aside from that, I have not watched a whole heck of a lot, like mostly just the Joe Bob stuff. I started watching Freddy's Nightmares for like the umpteenth time on Tubi.
I can't do it. I tried, and me, I like to say the world's biggest Nightmare on Elm Street fan. I'm a massive Nightmare on Elm Street fan, but I can't. I tried. Even when I rewatched Never Sleep Again, the documentary, I just fast forwarded the Freddy's Nightmare stuff. I don't need that muddying my waters. That's just me.
Yeah, and but I will give a plug to like Pluto, because they have a Twilight Zone, like a classic TV channel that plays a lot of Twilight Zone episodes, and those still slap. Like I gotta say, like those are still. Oh, and you know what? There's something else that this was gonna be on my list today, but it's not, so I can mention it. I watched John Carpenter's Vampires on Pluto as well, and even though I own it, it just happened to be on. Like that's why I like having it. Just you can turn it on, just playing stuff, and you don't have to really care.
Yeah.
I say this with all this trash behind me, but really enjoy John Carpenter's Vampires. Still a very flawed movie, but you know what? I'll still watch it every time. It's like it's like Forrest Gump for some people. When it's on, you just watch it. You have to succumb to it.
And I always said it is the most John Carpenter movie that he's ever made. Not the best, not by a long shot, but it sort of checks all his boxes of his recurring themes and motifs, just sort of put all into one blender of a crazy movie. And it is an actual Western, which is something that he's like always tried to do. So, good for him for making
Real Bravo. Some sort of siege, elements of siege. And there's also it's made me want to go back and revisit Ghosts of Mars. So heaven help me.
It's not as bad as I remember. It's also not his best, but like it's still a fun John Carpenter movie. And honestly, like if Ghosts of Mars came out today, if that was like his comeback movie, I think we'd sort of look at it in a little bit of a better light, instead of just like, making the Ward and then shuffling off to play video games, which the Ward has some good stuff in it too. It proves that he's still got it. He just doesn't really want to use it.
Hey, that's a choice. And, he's made some great things. And I mean, listen, I think with age, I think you view things differently. So it's always worthwhile to go back and visit movies of filmmakers who you generally enjoy. Like I've been needing to go back and visit The Fog for the same reason.
It's so good.
Yeah, and I know it's good, and I know it's like, but I want it to connect with me in the same way it does for a lot of people. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. You can't force these things, but I hope to be watching more now that I have my digs in place and I can start churning through. Oh, I take that back. I did watch a couple of things from Arrow. The Initiate. I'll just run through these real quick. Initiation of Sarah, TV movie. It's not bad. If you really like witch movies, yeah, it's pretty good. But the release is pretty nice. Interesting special features. And also watched Edge of Sanity, which is this Anthony Perkins movie where he plays Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde meets Jack the Ripper. It's super weird. Definitely it's a take on Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. It's just probably just like sexual oppression, the movie. It's kind of how I best describe it. Oddly perverted.
So Psycho. Yeah.
Yeah, but like the thing is, like Anthony Perkins is really good in it. But he's like what carries everything about the movie. Like the rest of it is like it's really beautiful looking. It's very kind of well made, but it's also just kind of like boring. And his parts where he goes absolutely batshit crazy and chews all the scenery and drywall in between, like
That's why you're showing
that's
up.
why you're watching it. And like he's great for that. And it was interesting to hear the director talk about working with him and like kind of how he made other people better. It's always nice, I think, especially now that we're losing so many great people. Like I don't know if this is not horror related, but these people did just die. Gilbert Gottfried and Bob Saget. There's a new special on Netflix with Dave Attell and Jeff Ross, and there's one episode where Gilbert Gottfried and Bob Saget join them on stage, and it's kind of like you're watching that, and you're like, wow, this is really, I don't know, it hits different. So I think I just become more nostalgic and appreciative of those perspectives of people that have now passed. And shout out to Arrow for putting out those special features because those are
they do the Lord's work.
Amen. Well, with that ado, let's check out what's been going on the site. So if you have not been aware or forgotten for some reason the title of this thing you're watching, we do work for our website, Macabre Daily. You should check it out. And we're going to run through some of the stories of June. First one is Crimes of the Future, hitting Blu-ray in August. Have you seen this yet?
Nope, but it is in my queue.
Yeah.
I kind of can't believe I missed it, but I also can't believe I still feel like I'm waiting for news of it to come out, and then it just came out. Yeah. And I just somehow missed it. But yeah, Cronenberg coming back to body horror, absolutely. Sign me up.
I want to see this. We did a review on the site. Dana, one of our other contributors, did a fantastic write-up. So if you want to check it out, please do so. But yeah, I'm definitely checking it. This is probably a buy just because I'm a glutton for that shit. And you know what? Cronenberg, to that point about John Carpenter, same with Cronenberg. If he's going to keep making movies, I'll keep seeing them, right?
And I wonder if it's going to be like, I feel like maybe he saw his son's movie Possessor, which came out recently, and was like, oh man, the youngin's creeping up on me. I got to step it up, because that was some great body horror. Wonder what a double feature of that would be. But anyway.
If they did a Cronenberg anthology film, father-son style, I would sign up for it. And I don't know why people like this is a great opportunity. You all should do that before we don't have the blessing of the senior Cronenberg. So take my idea, don't pay for it. It's fine. Just bless us with the anthology work. So I saw a trailer for this during Top Gun. I don't know what to think of it. Have you seen this trailer for Smile?
Yeah, it's a great trailer, but that makes me think the movie's not going to be that great, just because of the better the trailer, the worse the movie is going to be. Not like as a rule of thumb, but I find that more often than not. I'm curious about it, but I don't know. We'll see what happens as it gets closer. But goddamn, every single person in that movie smiling is creepy. Like everyone. And that scare at the end with the car windshield, I'm like, all right, I could see. I'm curious to know what's going on in this.
Yeah, I definitely got some heavy like men vibes from like just the kind of aesthetic of the Smile movies, because that guy on the poster just has that grin. Withholding Judgment, probably going to get it on Paramount Plus. It sounds like maybe because it is a Paramount film, so I imagine they want to push us to their streaming site. So who knows? Maybe we'll get it there. Maybe not a theater one. This was interesting. So as one of the better fans of Nightmare on Elm Street, do you believe this? What Jason Blum is saying, that he could convince Robert Englund to play Freddy?
I don't, because I don't think Robert Englund wants to do it. I think he thought it was fun to do it for the Goldbergs. And I think the Goldbergs was also his way of saying, like, look, if I do this again, this is what it's going to look like. And it's not going, and for something funny, that's great. But what I look like now under makeup, I can't do the same stunts I did. This isn't going to be as frightening, which is fine. Let him retire. Let him get that Stranger Things money. You know,
Yeah, I
and
was gonna say.
honestly, as big a fan as I am of the franchise, when they first announced an Elm Street remake, I wasn't upset about it. Like,
Yeah.
his record speaks for himself. They ended the series like several times. I mean, you can consider, you know, 6, 7, or Freddy versus Jason is like a good endpoint. If it, like, I want to see more Freddy Krueger movies, and I believe someone else could play him. And honestly, Jackie Earl Haley, even though he did not get any help whatsoever,
Yeah, he
I
did
feel
great.
like, yeah, he was great. He was great. He was short, but that's not his fault.
Yeah.
But he did fine. Even though I think the direction was mostly like just more Rorschach, you know, like, but I would watch, I don't know, I'd watch him as Freddy again. I will watch other people play Freddy Krueger to get more Nightmare on Elm Street films.
I mean, what
Even
about a
though,
Skarsgård? I mean, I feel like Bill Skarsgård just nailed
yeah,
Pennywise.
yeah, but he's already Pennywise. We can find someone else. But yeah, that's a perfect example. You know, you think Tim Curry is Pennywise if you grew up watching that movie. And then here comes another Pennywise who's so different from what we saw before, and it's just creepy and
Well,
unnerving.
he's going to
And
be the new frame of
yeah,
reference. I mean,
yeah,
this is a broad generalization prediction, broadly generalized prediction, which is that Gen Z will see Bill Skarsgård as their Pennywise more so than Tim Curry, because
oh
they are
yeah,
seeing that movie when we saw the TV movie of It with Tim Curry.
hmm,
And that's
yeah.
the movie that I didn't get off the bed for 2 days and I pissed the bed, because of that scene where in the beginning with Georgie, like that terrified
That
me.
was 2 weeks ago, Matt. You got to get over that.
Listen, if someone would have told me that Depends existed, this wouldn't have been as an embarrassing ordeal. I would have just pissed myself in peace. But I digress. Yeah, I think what rubs me the wrong way about this is just what he said. It's like I can make him come back. I could get anyone back. And like, listen, all respect to Jason Blum for his accomplishments, but I just don't. Does he really want somebody back who doesn't want to be back? Like, is that the point is to find a reasonable replacement. And I think
Mhm.
that there are plenty out there that could fill those shoes. A lot of it comes down to the makeup. In fact, I think the true test of this will be with the new Hellraiser that Hulu's putting out. If they can
Mhm.
successfully transfer the Pinhead moniker to somebody else, then I think there's hope. Not to say that everyone should follow the same process they're going through, but rather, or the same way they're going about it. But I think that it's possible to reboot things
Yeah.
effectively, and you just need someone with a different approach that
Mhm.
maintains the spirit of what the original was like. Freddy Krueger haunts your dreams. That's all you got to keep. Is Freddy Krueger
Yeah.
is a child molester who got killed by people, and he haunts your dreams. That's it.
And honestly, all that said, give me the Blumhouse Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah,
I'm
for
there day
sure.
one. I am camping out for tickets, even though that's not still a thing. I'm sleeping in a tent outside
Those
of
were the
my local
days.
movie theater. Yeah, like it's fine. Just someone make another fucking Nightmare on Elm Street movie already. Oh my god, there's no lawsuit, and give me my 4Ks, please. I don't know what you're waiting for. The 40th anniversary. I'll be 39, and that makes me feel incredibly, yeah. But fine. I'll wait. Just say they're coming. Anyway,
You've heard them. You've heard them. These are his
yeah,
demands. They are reasonable. So we've already talked about this, but you saw this. So
yeah,
this was a good experience. I did read
yeah.
the commentary that occurred. I guess it was just the Sunday screening where they had the issue. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, I did not get a chance to check this out. Would love to if it does make the rounds again. But on the heels of our previous episode around top 5 horror video games, we now are blessed with another horror franchise video game that looks eerily similar to the others that have come before it. What's your take here?
I'll play it.
I mean, I'm gonna buy it,
I
right?
mean,
I'm gonna
yeah, no,
ship it.
it's day one. I'm gonna, but you know, I'm already a little tired of Evil Dead. Maybe I just need to put it down and pick it back up again. But I'll give it a go. I liked the Friday the 13th game a lot. Like, it made my list of video games last time. But I mean, if you're if you're not fighting back at all, if your whole thing is just to escape, then it's got to be a really fucking scary game. Like it's got to be absolutely terrifying. Because you know you don't want it to devolve into oh he got me. All right, you know you want it, and like that's another thing, and I feel this way with the Evil Dead game. If you're playing Ash, why would you want to play anyone else? If you have Leatherface, why would you want to be anyone else? But someone has to in an asymmetric multiplayer game. So you got to make those characters fun, and maybe the other non-Ash characters are fun. I haven't really played them. I really should pick it up again, but you know, I'll play Leatherface and Chainsaw People, and it does look great.
It does look really good. I'll totally give them that. But I think Evil Dead has kind of ruined. I don't say ruined. It has set a different bar for the mechanics where I don't know if I want to go back to playing a game where I'm just a survivor who doesn't have any recourse. And to your point, you know, it does look like in this one that there's going to be multiple, like, it does seem like there might be like team-based approach where you have like a team of good and bad people that are kind of going, you know, because I did see like a few different characters that weren't Leatherface killing people. But either way,
the cook, like, the hitchhiker,
yeah, like I just don't know how that's going to work if you're just running away the whole time or turning off lights. Like, you know, like that to me is like not interesting gameplay. But I'm going to buy it and I will check it out. I have played Returnal, which is interesting.
I heard that's very good.
Don't know if I love it yet, but it is interesting. Definitely a lot of fun. Definitely need to sink more time into it. But it's beautiful looking too, which that's probably the best part about it. All right, so I know we've tried to keep this screen free, but it's coming to your town. It's coming to your backyard. Scream is coming to Manhattan.
Fine. Like, just make it good. Just, you know, I don't know what Scream 6 would be. I don't even know what it's going to be called. I hope they just fucking call it Scream 6 or even Scream Part 6. That would be great. But sure, Scream in the City, fine. Can't be worse than Friday the 13th Part 8.
What if we get a Scream 666?
No, because then you're throwing supernatural stuff into it. We don't need to do that.
Yeah.
We're earthbound, man.
I think the interesting thing is like Manhattan, you could totally walk around in a Ghostface outfit and no one would really bother you. Like people would probably stay away from you. But if you started killing people in Manhattan, like we're not going to see a Jason-esque Manhattan where we're going to get, you know, I'm sure we're going to get the iconic Times Square Ghostface shot, but can he really massacre people in Times Square? Like I'd love to see it. I'd love to see him just cornered and stabbing. But yeah, I guess what always worked about Scream is that they felt small. This elevates the arena, but you know what? I am still a shill for these things. I will fucking watch it.
Yeah, day one, baby.
Yeah, god damn it. Anyways, that's the news. Check out Macabre Daily. More of it. You should probably check it out daily. And now on to our main event, top 5 summer horror movies. So we both mentioned at the beginning that this was not difficult, but we tried to make it maybe a little difficult, set some rules. So what rules did you set for yourself in making your list?
I thought of movies that felt like summer, even if they're not like set during the summertime, even though all of these are. I tried to think of movies that feel like, you know, you're sort of escaping everyday life a little bit and going somewhere else, taking a trip, and you know you expect the weather to be nice and there's fun things to do, basically sort of vacation-ish horror movies.
Now the temperature matters though, right? Like it has to be like hot, sunny, sun hot and sunny.
Sunny day.
Yeah, because like I was definitely thinking like, oh, there's definitely some great, like definitely trying to make some decisions, like could this be a summer movie? Maybe not. But that was my anchor, I think, is temperature. How hot is the weather going?
Good indicator.
Yeah, I'm similar. I didn't, because there's no movies that really always explicitly take place during summer. Like, there's a handful that do say explicitly that, like Friday 13th, perhaps, but most of them it's like, oh, I can presume this takes place during the summer, most likely. So I definitely followed a similar process of feels summery-ish. With that, what's your first on your top 5?
My number 5 is not a good movie, but it's a fun movie. I Know What You Did Last Summer, which specifically has summer in the title.
It does.
That like Scream was my favorite movie ever when it came out. And there were a few months in late 1997 where I thought I Know What You Did Last Summer might be better than Scream. And I just want to formally apologize for that right here and now. You heard it here, folks. Yeah. I don't know what I was thinking. I was in seventh grade. Soon. Yeah, I just, we're going to hold a conference. It's going to be okay. We're going to heal. No, but it's funny. I'm actually right now, I'm reading a book called The 1990s Teen Horror Cycle by Alexandra West, I believe, came out a few years ago. And it analyzes like 90s teen horror films, like not even pre-Scream. Like it starts with the 92 Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and it'll go all the way to
really underrated film, by the way.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting. It's worth a watch, but the show is still much, much better. But yeah, it just sort of talks about where horror was in the 90s from like, it's like coming out of the 80s. What is it now? And it's a great book. It's making me think about things a different way, but it's also just really funny to read an entire chapter on the first 2 I Know What You Did Last Summer movies. Like I still know what you did last summer, maybe even the first one. You don't even need to think about them academically, but here they are.
What a time to be alive.
Yeah, but it's interesting. A lot of thought went into it. It's a good book, but yeah, it takes place during summer. Not a great movie, but a fun murder mystery. Massive plot holes, but the book also mentions, that after Scream sold, the company that made it came to Kevin Williamson and they were like, we have the rights to this book. Can you do something with it? And he was like, yeah, sure. So he,
give me the hottest cash you can get. 1990 was it 5 or something like that?
I guess that's 96. It came out October 97. But yeah, but it's like you can kind of tell that like, it's I shouldn't say it's not his A game, but like he put it all on the table for Scream, and this one was just like
it's generic K. Williamson.
Yeah, and it's entertaining. It's dumb, but like still fun and like a lot darker and like it's set during the summer. Like the whole thing is set during a July 4th weekend, but like it still feels like it's kind of perfect that it opens with a typo negative cover of Summer Breeze, because you feel like little bits of like chill through the movie, through this very like warm.
It does feel like a cold movie, I think, because of just the nature of the look of the killer too, and gives it that wet feel.
Yeah, and he's a fisherman, but yeah, it's a summertime slasher. I
need to rewatch this.
Worse than you remember, but I think it was on Shudder or Hulu recently, and it was fine. And that sequel is not good, but it has an amazing cast. Like Jack Black, I totally forgot Jack Black, Jeffrey Combs, Bill Cobb. Yeah, Jack Black uncredited. It's something.
Maybe we need to go back to this series. I mean, I never saw the third one.
I don't think we have to. I think
it's not canon. It's out.
Nope.
It's out.
Nope.
All right.
It takes place in Colorado. What is a fisherman doing in Colorado? But
listen, I've asked weirder questions at stranger places, so who knows? But all right. So
your 5.
My 5 is Sleepaway Camp.
That is my number 3. But go on. Yeah.
Well, we can hold off on talking about it till we get to number 3. If you'd like, let's save it. Let's save it to 3. Let's save it to get there. But yeah, Sleepaway Camp's number 5. So I'll go to my 4 then. The Devil's Rejects. So Rob Zombie appears yet again on this discussion. I'm across this.
Good this time.
It's gonna be a running theme at some point when we're on episode 9 when we're just like, wow, remember in episode 1 we made that Rob Zombie joke and it lasted 9
And it's
episodes.
not that we hate him. We just
no,
he's
rooting
he is
for him.
He's a well that's fascinating to go back to.
Anyway. To me, Rob Zombie is always the fan who made it. Like he's the fan who got to have his dream job, and like to that end, I have the utmost respect and appreciation, which I didn't used to have, of a lot of his stuff. But it doesn't always mean it's good. It just means I know he's trying to do something. And The Devil's Rejects is probably one of his better ones. Like it's a movie that certainly made him more known in the horror. I mean, because even though House of Thousand Corpses was before Devil's Rejects,
it was shelved, and then
it had the production history is more interesting than the movie itself.
Mm-hmm.
But like Devil's Rejects was just a kick in the dick, like it was Rob Zombie basically saying like, I want to make, a real fucked up outlaw road movie, like exploitation style, and it totally succeeds. And it's still a movie that's like uncomfortable in parts to watch. It still feels a little more real than all of the other movies, and it's it's mean, but it's fun. It's dirty, but it's just it moves really at a good pace. Like it's a really well made film, and it does, and it's hot. That movie feels like it's got like a filter of just like hot balls on a summer day across every single panel of film, because it just looks gross. No one's ever not sweaty. It's like Top Gun. Everyone sweats.
Just mountains a sheen.
Yeah. But in Top Gun, it's like an attractive sheen, and like Devil's Rejects, it's like the sloppy sweat you get when you're like doing hard labor outside.
Yeah, and I will say this. I will give this to Rob Zombie. Best use of Freebird in a film.
Oh, for sure.
That ending. First of all, the balls to have
the soundtrack
like that
actually in total is quite good. Like
music
choice is very very good. Feels very zombie aesthetic. Whatever that means.
Yeah, but at that point, he's established it already. It's good for him. So my number 4.
Yeah.
Want to keep going? My number 4 is The Burning.
It's higher up on my list.
Yeah. Do you want to save it, and we'll go into Sleepaway Camp?
Yeah, let's save it and go to Sleepaway Camp.
Okay, Sleepaway Camp.
All right, you start on Sleepaway Camp because you were robbed of your number 4.
How dare you? Sleepaway Camp is. I always wanted there to be like a disaster artist like movie about the making of Sleepaway Camp, because it just sounds so insane. This guy's mom dies, and he uses the insurance money to make a movie, and he never made a movie before. And he's from Long Island, and he's going upstate. And The Burning's like this too, where it's like it's in like upstate New York, but like they're all like New York City, like Long Island, like yeah, Angela, just like kids.
They're clearly from the city to the Adirondacks.
Yeah, and it's like Long Island exploitation almost. But it's just.
I hope that's a genre.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. But it's Sleepaway Camp is a sweet coming of age movie and a disgusting grindhouse movie rolled into one. It's like a lollipop that falls in the dirt, and you just take a second to look at it like, is it entirely covered? Oh yeah, no, it's totally gross. And it's made by if it could only have been made and come out the way it did if it was made by someone who never made a movie before. And I mean that as a compliment, because it's just go for broke. I mean, kids die. Some of the deaths are just insane. You kind of can't believe what you're watching. And like that ending.
Pedophilia is treated with like absolute, like complete innocence. Like rampant pedophilia. Rampant.
And that's James Earl Jones's dad going, we know what you're talking about. Like, I call him Baldies. Like, whoa, someone call the police right now. So he can come with his painted on mustache. It's just, that movie is just a symphony of chaos. And I mean, I watched that live for the 30th anniversary or something. They did a screening in the East Village at Union Square, and it's just so much better with the crowd. That movie's disgusting, and I love it.
I have so my connection to Sleepaway Camp is like it's the movie that I didn't. First of all, that ending jarred the fuck out of me as a kid because I saw it at probably age like 11 or 12. So while there was sex education had kicked in already, we hadn't gotten to the non-binary part of the discussion yet.
Was that even part of the
I don't think it
discussion
was.
back then?
Yeah, I don't think it was. I
No.
think it was mostly just the reason why you the reason why you're mean to girls is you're flirting with them. Like, okay, that explains it all. But I think when I saw it, like, it was just totally threw me for a loop. And it's because even when you look back at it now, it still doesn't make a whole lot of sense, kind of how all this came together. But at the same time, you gotta appreciate that the audacity of it all. Like that someone
The
was
score
like,
is just musical stings. It's just stings after stings after stings. So many stings they had to put in a bee sting death. Anyway,
but it is so unique. Like, but that's what makes it kind of great, is because you couldn't try to make a movie like that. Like you couldn't.
No,
It happens because of it's such a confluence of time, place, and everything not going
experience
just going
and
right.
inexperience.
Yeah, just like, and like people made. I mean, Felissa Rose has a career for that, rightfully so. She's like the sweetest person in the world. You know, she always does the pose and like,
Yeah.
and like, but it's a great movie, and I still think like even though it's so awful, like it's highly entertaining. It's highly entertaining.
It's one of the reasons why How Did This Get Made became a podcast, I feel, to examine movies like this, because it is just, but it's made with such love, and it's made by someone who has such confidence in what they're doing, and you just appreciate that.
Yeah,
You know,
it's got a real Night Beast energy to it.
Yeah, and like it's a short movie, but it stops to have a baseball game that has no bearing on the plot, and it's incredible. It's just, God, I want to watch that now.
Yeah, it's like a putrid wine. It does get better with age, but it went rotten a long time ago. And
it was
just
always
gets
rotten.
Yeah, its core was gross. All right, that's number 3. My number 3 is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
That is my number 1.
Oh, okay.
Spoiler alert. Yeah.
We will defer to that because I think that brings us to. Is your number 2 the burn or?
No, we did 3 through 5 from mine. So we'll do my number 2, I guess, which is Jaws. Have you seen Jaws yet, Matt?
Is that the one with the squid? Yes, I've seen Jaws.
I would log off right the fuck now. Do you understand me?
Yes.
Look into my eyes, man. I forgot what we talked about with this, but what your answer as to whether or not you saw Jaws was not satisfactory to me. So I assume that you've only seen parts of it or haven't seen it. Not to
I've seen the whole thing front to back at least 3 times fully.
Okay, good. That's a relief. It's absolutely a horror movie. That's another thing that I forgot to mention was something else I watched. I showed my wife Poltergeist.
The original Poltergeist.
Yes.
Okay. I know, but listen, for the sake of clarity.
Sir. And also it's funny, when we were coming out of the thing, I thought we were so wowed by it that I just imagined 1982 John Carpenter, when he heard his movie bombed, gets rip-roaring drunk, goes to a bar, and starts telling everyone Tobe Hooper directed E.T. Like, that would be just the perfect revenge. But yeah, Poltergeist, interesting movie, and good, and a mix of Spielberg and Hooper. But Jaws is absolutely a horror movie. And it's one of those that just gets me every time. And like, kind of like with Carpenter, with Halloween and The Thing, you can say that between Halloween and The Thing, and between Jaws and Jurassic Park, you can draw straight lines, and their craft got better. But Jaws is just, it's kind of a perfect movie. Like, I don't know necessarily, but the more I think about it, it's one of those, like, Yeah, it is kind of perfect, isn't it? Like it's so much of it is iconic, and it's a movie about a shark, but yet it's so quotable, and you care about and you follow what's happening on land, and everyone's really good in it, and it's terrifying, and you see exactly as much as the shark as you should. And it's going to the beach. I always make sure that I watch Jaws every summer after I've already gone to the beach, because if I
Yeah.
see it before, I'm going to take a few breaths before I go in the water, if I even do more than put my feet in, because God, Jaws.
I, I Jaws is, I like Jaws. It's not a movie I feel like visiting all the time, but I do like it, and it is the most summer movie of all. Like as far as summer horror movies go, I would venture to guess that anyone asked would probably say Jaws is the first movie that comes to mind, because it just gives off that vibe. It's just everything, and it takes place near water, you know, and there is a, and I think the making of Jaws is as intriguing, if not more intriguing, than the movie itself, which makes it
Sharks not
better.
working.
Yeah, like knowing more about, there's some movies that benefit from knowing a lot more about how they got made, whether to appreciate them or to be grateful for what came out of it, despite all odds. But yeah, Jaws is a solid entry, and I have all the sequels plus the Italian version. Um,
The
so I
second
can,
one's not bad. The second one's a solid sequel.
they get funnier as they go.
Well,
Not better.
not intentionally,
Yeah.
but no, I mean the second one, it's not as good as the first one, but Jaws 2 is fine. It's a good
As far as a
shark attack
sequel about
movie.
a giant shark movie goes, yes, because
Yeah.
there are very few giant sea creature movies that are actually good.
Yeah.
That that is a type that is a reward that Jaws will not soon lose.
Yes.
So my number 2
Mm.
is The Lost Boys, and
Ah. Okay.
Lost Boys is California summer. Like it is everything about it, even though it was clearly like aping on Santa Cruz.
Mm.
It does look a lot like Santa Monica, and particularly like the boardwalk area. But everything about that movie just feels like summer. You have sweaty Tim Capello playing saxophone. You know, people like riding motorcycles in reckless
In
abandon
the
into the
sand.
night. You know, like people just hanging out on boardwalks, and that movie probably more than most. I always remembered and seemed to like always kind of be on when I was on summer break. You know, so I had a strong connection. Still one of the greatest vampire movies of all time. I really hope they never remake it or ever try and. I know they have sequels, but
They have tried. There's a failed pilot or two somewhere, which I'd be curious to see, but I'm not watching a show of that. Not on the CW.
The thing is, it's a product of its time. Like to update it would just invalidate what makes it unique. Like there's something like you couldn't remake Saturday Night Fever in rave culture. You just couldn't do it. Like it's not like it's
Don't
not
put
because
that out in the world, dude. But yeah,
Netflix has tried, but like they're just you can't take that and like change the context that much. But either way, Lost Boys just gives us heavy summer vibes the whole time. It's still the coolest vampire movie of all time, and it has hands down some of the best lines of any horror movie of all time. Like my own brother, a goddamn vampire. We wait till Mon hears about this, buddy. Like,
I mean,
genuinely felt like they were brothers. Genuinely thought they were brothers in that movie.
Yeah. They were. It's a great movie. I don't think of it as summer so much, just because I think of it as it's just, and it is set during summer because they're not in school.
It's perma California.
I just think, yeah, it's California, so I guess that would be a place that you would like go on vacation. But yeah, I love that movie, and it's not a perfect movie. I mentioned the term perfect movie a lot. We don't need perfect movies, but some of the plot holes are very noticeable, but you don't care because the rest of it is so good. And honestly, Kiefer Sutherland is one of my favorite genre performances in that. I think he plays a vampire unlike anyone else in a vampire movie I've ever really seen. And maybe I'm just like projecting my own psychology on that character. But
like the coolest vampire ever.
I mean, and like just effortless, just like someone who's just been alive for so long that he just doesn't care anymore. I mean, that you want to talk about lines? No one mentions this line really, but like when they're about to fight, like on the edge of the cliff, because he's like baiting him, with like the motorcycle race, and he's like trying to trick him to go over, and he's like, and Jason Patrick's trying to fight him, and Kiefer Sutherland's just like, "How far are you willing to go?" And it's like a serious question, and it's like, I don't give a shit. I'm a god and you're nothing.
Yep.
And it's not, it's just I need a video essay on that movie. But yeah, Lost Boys, fantastic.
It's hands down one of the best. It's so rewatchable. You can, that to me is like junk food, like cinema. Like you can just watch it endlessly, and actually not even junk food. It's just really amazing comfort food that you can keep going back to. It never gets old. So number 2, Lost Boys.
And do you want to go into the burning?
Yeah, let's do the burning. All right.
Okay.
You kick us off.
All right.
Why is the burning your number?
Well, it's set during summer camp, but it feels like a summer camp that like I went to. And I never went to a sleepaway camp, but I went to like day camps on Long Island. And it feels like, these are the people that I would interact with, except from the year 1980. And it's better than Friday the 13th.
Yes.
It just
is.
It
is a way better movie.
I'm sorry. The
everything about it is better.
Yeah, it's like a summertime giallo. And then when the makeup is finally revealed, it just looks fucking great. Like Cropsey looks so good. And the kills are great. You got Jason Alexander and Fisher Stevens mucking it up in there. Holly Hunt's not really doing anything, but it's just like, it just feels like, we're just a camp. We're razzing each other. We're making fun of each other. We're playing pranks. And then, oh my God, we're all dead. And it's a bloody nightmare. And I don't think it's as bloody so much as I remember, because I feel like there are long stretches where there are no deaths. But once it like really kicks in, it's like, it's just really good. It's just, it's Tom Savini. It's the first movie of the Weinstein brothers, the Schmeinstein brothers. So the algorithm doesn't get me.
They who shall not be named.
Yeah. But yeah, it's based on like a real like New York a real legend, just like a scary
urban
story you tell around the campfire. Yeah, and it's like, I always thought that urban legend kind of took from that ending, because they are both urban legends, and it's just like a fun, gory, gushy, and it's one that I discovered later in life too.
Oh,
like
really?
I guess like in my 20s, like I didn't know about it until like I think I was reading about the Friday the 13th movies, and they're like, yeah, Tom Savini didn't come back for the second one because he was doing The Burning. I'm like, oh, what's The Burning? And I'm like, oh shit, everyone's in this, and it's great, and it's got like an amazingly 80s synth score, which is just, yeah.
I saw The Burning when I was younger, and I always liked Friday the 13th when I was younger, because you like the kind of horror titans, you like it, you like the masks, right? You like the franchises. But over the years, I've softened on the original Friday the 13th, and generally, like as a camp slasher go, The Burning is the king of camp slashers. It's the most accurate of what a camp actually is like. The whole kind of conception of Cropsey is exactly what I would imagine kids in the 1980s doing by accident. Like, it is not like there's nothing as outrageous as it seems today. There is a level of like nastiness that existed prior that just isn't.
It's Bad News Bears territory, baby.
Yeah, like, I mean, and you see some of that animosity, like, and it's again sometimes hard to swallow. But again, we live in animist times as well, so who knows? But that, and like there's a particular parts in that movie that are so fucking, like the scene in the canoes where
the set piece,
he's coming at them, like, holy fuck, to this day it's still a pretty tense moment, and it's something like, God, it's just a really good slasher movie. It's just really good, and like probably it's closer to like those later giallos that were coming out in the 80s, where things were getting a little they were less crime focused. And more like makeup and gore focused, which is again all good things. But The Burning is just, it's summer, it's s'mores. And it really, like, I've been to a couple summer camps for a few summers and definitely felt like if the pandemonium that ensues is exactly what I would imagine happening because of how few adults are usually at camps, how the counselors are usually not that much older than the people they're taking care of. And so their decision-making capabilities are not that far off. So just like there's a definite sense of dread that exists because of helplessness that these people are really stuck. Whereas all the other Friday 13th movies felt like these are adults being killed. This is like kids are getting stabbed left and right in the water, all over the place.
In the woods,
and it's great. It's just so good. And the mega effects are great. The opening is great. Like just the way, love it, love it, love it. Burning is tops as far as summer movie goes for me. And you're number one.
Did we do your 5? Did we do all 5 for you?
My 5 was Sleepaway Camp. We got a little mixed up around the ordering. I think your Burning was like number 4.
You got your Burning in my Sleepaway Camp.
Yes, exactly. And now our Texas Chainsaw Massacres are tangled up at number 1.
Okay.
So that was my number 3. This is your number 1.
Right. Yeah. So okay. So I'll do. Yeah. My number 1 is Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Also an incredible horror movie. It smells. It's a movie that just reeks. It's even when you're watching it in like air conditioning, you just feel sticky and gross like the entire time, and you just feel worse as it goes on. And it's like that Texas summer sun, what is it, August 18th, 1973, like the dog days of summer. It's like the world around you is just so oppressive. And then here comes a guy with a chainsaw. Like from the very beginning, from that first, the graveyard scene where it zooms out and you see the sculpture, it's like, oh my God. That plus every other accolade that's been thrown on Texas Chainsaw Massacre. This is the original, not the remake.
Yes. To be clear.
Yes.
I mean, the whole film feels like it was drenched in piss. Like it feels like hot piss. And knowing more about the movie makes it even more disgusting. Like just hearing the stories about the dinner scene. If that doesn't feel like the worst summer experience of all time, like I don't know what is. And everything like to me, even though a lot of people associate summer as like, oh, beach and hot weather, and it's a more positive sentiment. I find summers to be highly uncomfortable because it means excessive sweating and depressive
shower
heat.
all the time.
And we're in humid states, so like not only is it hot, but like there's also this humidity blanket, and like that's what it feels like in the Texas Chainsaw. It feels like everything's hot and uncomfortable the entire time, and nothing, and like all you want to do is get out of that. And just feels dirty, exactly how again summer ends up getting. Summer's not unless you don't sweat, you're getting dirty.
Yeah.
Same with Josh. You'll smell like salt. You'll be covered in salt. It's just like that's why it gives up that summer. I just never want to spend a summer like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That's not on the docket for me.
No, thank you. Yeah. So what's your number 1? Did we get to your number 1?
My number 1 is The Burning.
Oh, okay. So we did it.
Yeah, we did it. I think we did it in some strange way. Yeah, even though we had some weird arithmetic, I think we got there in the end with only 3 overlaps, which that's not bad.
Yeah.
It's not bad. Different placements. Summer horror movies. These are the top 5 we recommend. There's probably more out there. I had a full-on list going. Like the Funhouse was down there for a moment. But it's just a weird movie. I love that movie. That's a weird one.
It's a weird one.
Yeah. Probably Tobe Hooper's 3rd best.
I don't know.
It'd be hard to do Tobe Hooper one of these, to be honest, because as much as he is well-regarded for a handful of films, he also missed way more than he hit. Not all his fault. But
yeah, that's true. But yeah. Maybe down the line, maybe we can scrounge a few together. But yeah, but no, he made Texas Chainsaw and Poltergeist. So
Maybe
lifetime
time will be
passed.
kinder. Maybe time will be kinder to some of his films. We'll never know. But that's the top 5 summer movies. I think we probably, as you all heard, I think we have our next topic set out for us next month, which is we're going to do this. Yeah, we caught it. This is not catch and release. This is catch, skin, debone, and eat. So we're eating this fucker. The top 5 prequels, horror prequels. And if you want to send us anything to help us out, because this is things we should be watching, please.
Please.
I don't know. This is going to be a real Google dive as far as where to start. But you can catch myself at macabre_Maddie and the Instagram.
And I'm at Lowell School on Instagram.
Boom. And of course, check us out at Macabre Daily. And until then, put on sunscreen.
Stay hydrated.
Yeah, don't eat 30 minutes before going swimming, and watch more horror movies.